Traditions and customs are national treasure. Kazakh people observe traditions over many centuries. The Great Steppe is an amulet of the country. You can watch the customs and traditions of the Kazakhs in the Modern Nomads program. Today's topic of Modern Nomads program, i.e. kaiyndau, kaiyndau, and kirik shubar minguzu, are interrelated. These three topics are the steppe traditions taking place one after another. First of all, let's talk about kaiyndau. Kaiyndau is a visit of a married woman to her own homeland, birthplace after some time, which is held with traditions and customs. It is a tradition that must be performed once in a married woman's life. Kazakh girls, after being given in marriage, used to visit their parents and relatives in a year. In olden times, we were nomads. At that time, we did not have conditions as today, to live in Almaty and to give a daughter to marriage in Taraz or neighboring cities like Taldyqurgan. Therefore, a ceremony of visiting parents was held only after 1 year. There is a point in doing it this way. Kazakhs say a wife who lives close to her own relatives never makes her bed. This means if a wife lives not far from her parents' home, she will often visit her own relatives and will be distracted from doing housework. To become a member of that family, a part of that place, she should sink as a stone and soak as water. It can be interpreted as to take hold in her husband's family to adjust there. She should respect the values and customs of the new place. This time is given to her to learn and fully adapt to a new family. Thus, the next year, a married daughter could come with all privileges and celebrations to her parents' home. Visiting parents' home after a wedding is a tradition used only for women. There is merit to perform this tradition in a year after getting married. During the year, a newly married woman usually gives birth to a baby. Within a year, she adapts to her new life and her husband's family. Over this period of time, she learns basic life principles and experiences difficulties. This is the first challenging year for a married woman. A woman visiting her parents' home is usually invited with her husband and her baby. Sometimes she goes together with her husband's relatives. They may be her sister-in-law, her and her husband's friends. Showing respect to a married woman visiting her parents' home is the most honorable among the Kazakh traditions of hosting guests. In some situations, she used to take her baby with her to her parents' home, if she had one, and also she comes with her husband. Even sometimes she arrives with her husband's friends. A woman visits her parents' home not only by herself, but with her sister-in-law and her husband's brother's wife as a special guest. They stay overnight there and then return to her husband's house. During her stay at her parents' home, she is shown high respect and receives valuable presents. Kazakhs say a girl's path is narrow. That expresses that girls should be well-mannered, polite, and have certain ethics and rules that they should follow, as well as social constraints on a Kazakh girl's life. The girl should not be offended at her parents' home. She is offered a seat at a place of honor. They say that she belongs to another family. Following that this has an educational value, and the parents of a girl are given in marriage, who visits her parents' home and makes every effort to host her in the best way. They cut sheep and hold a small feast, inviting all neighbors from the village. This makes sense. There is a point in waiting 1 year after the wedding before inviting a married daughter and visiting the parents' home.
Оның өзінің үлкен осындай мән мағынасы болған, жаңағындай бір жылға уақыт беруінің өзінде мән мағынасы бар, қайтадан қайтып келудің өзінде мән мағынасы бар.
Kazakh people say a girl is growth. They build kirigia, or wooden lattice forming a circular wall of the yurt. This means they are future mothers and those due to whom a family grows. Therefore, our ancestors respected and treated girls in a special way. This can be observed in historical data and traditions. Kazakhs put expensive clothes, golden and silver accessories covered with precious jewels on their daughters, who reached the age of marriage. Girls were taught to dress well and walk beautifully before marriage. At her own home, she feels free and preens herself. When she visits her parents' home, this tradition continues. For example, a woman during her visit organized according to the traditions is given anything she wants.
Төркүндеп келген кыздын негизинде сураган берет. Энди ол кыз кимдин баласы, байдын кызыма, патшанын кызыма, ол
All that a woman who visits her own parents' home asks for is given. Also, it depends on if a girl is a daughter of a rich man or a padisha. Everyone could give gifts according to their level of wealth and status. For instance, they say you should give only to your daughter what she asks for. Thereupon, Kazakh's fundamental way of life is connected with cattle. They used to give sheep to their daughter when she visits her parents' home after the wedding.
Көңүл бөлөтүн нерсе, казактар эч убакытта сыңар мал бермеген. Мисалы кызына бузаулы сыйыр, кулунду бие, козду кой, осундай кылып берип отурган.
It is worth paying attention to one thing that Kazakhs never gave only one sheep. For example, they gave to their daughters paired cattle like a cow with a calf, a horse with a fowl, and sheep with a lamb. This means wishing a daughter not to be alone but to grow as a family. Generally, parents present a horse and do other gifts to their visiting girl. And they used to give parents and hold a feast for their daughter's husband and other people accompanying her.
Еріп білген қосшыларына түгел барлық жағдайларды жасап, жаңағыдай сый-сияпаттарын жасап, той тілеулерін өткізіп, осылай беріп отырады.
Keeping this tradition has been a must for women for a long time. Therefore, no matter what difficult situation there was or how far her new family lived, her parents perform this tradition once in a woman's life when she visits her parents' home. A woman who didn't sell or lose sheep or other cattle she was given by her parents was regarded as a person respecting her family. But if it was sold or stolen, it was unfavorable for both parties. Thus, cattle given by her parents during her first visit were kept and raised with much care. This tradition still exists. However, it changed a little in terms of its purpose and prospects. I heard that an 80-year-old woman who lost her parents and relatives, and when she got old, she found someone from her own kin. Then she performed the ceremony of visiting her parents' home. So, kaiyndau is a ceremony established by Kazakhs as the main duty to be performed by every girl. What century was it established? If you look at the word torkin, or wife's relatives, it has deep roots. The word tor means the place of birth, i.e. it stands for visiting parents' home.
Жер деген сөз ғой енді. Сол төркіншілеу. Бұл енді қазақ арасында қалыптасқан дүние, ол енді дәстүр ретінде.
This is formed within Kazakhs as a tradition, and failure to perform the ancestors' tradition by every Kazakh was unacceptable. In those years, non-adherence to the traditions were considered as a huge crime. Therefore, kaiyndau was established as an obligation for a girl in Kazakh's life.
Бұл қазақтың өмірінде жаңа төркіндеу әйел баланың, әйел адамның бір міндет парызы ретінде қалыптасып, кейінге мұра болып қалған.
The second topic of today's program is kaiyndau. In some places, it is called as kaiyndau, visiting the wife's parents and relatives. This ceremony is not for girls, it is for grooms. Kaiyndau is a tradition that is performed after the ceremonies as kuzkoru, seeing a girl or a future bride, kudalik, matchmaking. Kaiyndau should not be confused with urin baru. If urin baru is a secret meeting of a groom and a bride before the wedding, then kaiyndau is a visit to the future wife's relatives. This tradition is mandatory as kaiyndau. The difference is that the wife's relatives don't present a horse to the man who visits them. Instead, he has put a chapan around his shoulders, he meets with his future wife's relatives, and paves the way for establishing a good relationship.
Қайыншылап барудың өзі жігіт адам үшін үлкен сын болған кезінде. Себебі бұл мектептен өту деген.
To visit the future wife's relatives was a big test for a man. It was like passing an exam at school. They were not allowed to visit the future wife's relatives without performing other traditions before that as well. There were many features in Kazakh traditions before visiting the future wife's relatives. For example, after matchmaking and before urin baru, the groom should not visit the future wife's relatives. If this takes place and people know about it, then the girl's brothers beat him up. Therefore, it is regarded as established customs to be performed as part of wedding traditions.
Үлкен бір салт, дәстүр, өз қалыптасқан қазақтың некелену жүйесіндегі осындай бір нәрсе.
First visit of a groom to the future wife's relatives is made in a bride's village during matchmaking. The procedures of kaiyndau are carried out during matchmaking when the groom's relatives meet new matchmakers. They hold various ceremonies, kaiyndau to ask a groom to pay a price for a bride, kaiyndau unpack a package of presents from a groom to the bride's relatives, and kaiyndau to have a look at the future groom. This is the first test for the groom. If he passes it well and isn't blamed for doing a poor job, then urin kilu will be continued.
Қайын жұртына барған кезде, сол ауылға таяп бір 500 метр ма, 200 метр ма, сондай кезде қалған кезде.
When about 500 or 200 meters are left to the village of the bride's relatives, a groom and groomsmen get off their horses, and then they walk towards the village. The future wife's sisters and her sister-in-law go out and welcome the groom. They tell him jokes about his clothes and the way he walks. His future wife's sister-in-law used to test him.
Киімін, жүрген, тұрғанын, жүрісін, осылардың барлығын жеңгелері қалжыңдап.
They move beyond. The groom also is tested in front of the respected men among the wife's relatives when he comes to the village. For instance, he is judged by his words and the way he sits and stands and even cuts meat. People used to ask, what is a future groom like? So he had to perform various duties and traditions in front of respected men.
Керек десеңіз жаңағы жұмыс істеу, ет кесу, осылардың барлығын одан сынап, болашақ күйеу бала қалай, соның бәрі үлкендердің алдында сондай өзінің міндеттерін өтейтін түрлі міндеттері болады ғой енді, салттар. Соларды өтеп отыратын болған.
Kaiyndau is one of the traditions that is hard for a young man. You can notice it when you hear the tales people tell each other. There's a tale about the visit of the famous hero of the tribe Kire, Jibek bir Daulet Uli, to his future wife's relatives. The hero, who stayed strong against enemies and survived, never lost in disputes, found himself in the hot seat during his visit to his future wife's relatives. He said, for the first time I was embarrassed. When he visited for the first time the home of the bride's relatives, he was about 20. The matchmakers who went there with him went ahead, and when he and his groomsmen got off their horses and were staying in the edge of the village, a group of women and the future wife's sister-in-law appeared. He said that he had not known what to do. It was not a dispute to show your arguing skills. It wasn't a battle to use your strength. How can I face them off? This situation in my life made me feel embarrassed mostly. According to this, it was a big test for a man. Along with showing respect for a woman who visits her own parents' home after marriage in a year, for a man who visits the wife's relatives, there's also a tradition dedicated to their child. It is kurik shubar mingizu, which means giving a flea-bitten horse, or kurik serkesh biru. It is giving a little goat to a niece or a nephew. In some places, it is called jien kurik, a gift for a nephew given by the relatives of his mother. This is a tradition kept in respect of nieces or nephews. This custom is performed when a niece or nephew comes for the first time to his or her mother relative's house. According to the tradition, they give golden and silver accessories.
Жиенге көрсетілген құрмет, қыз балаға көрсетілетін құрметтің жалғасы ретінде қарауға болады.
You can see that respect shown for a niece or a nephew is a continuation of showing respect for a married daughter. Kazakhs have many proverbs devoted to nieces and nephews. For example, they say, a nephew is not one from your kin, the back of head is not a meal. And then as a contradiction of the previous proverb, they say, why not a nephew to be one from your kin, if he is honorable? Why not the back of your head to be a meal, if it is fatty? But Kazakhs respected nieces and nephews a lot. Kazakhs thought that a niece or a nephew will have a grouse for a long time against those insulting or hurting him. Therefore, they made huge efforts to not offend nieces and nephews at all. They gave them everything they wanted and treated and helped them. Nieces and nephews have a special place among the relatives of their mother. This explains everything. This has social and other reasons. You can notice that respect shown for nieces and nephews reflects harmony, ties, and national unity between Kazakh Ru, or tribes, and ancestors.